What's up, guys? It's Jim with OPTCG, bringing to you guys today another new video with a brand new leader, one I've been looking forward to very much so ever since its introduction, because it probably has one of the most insane leader effects we've ever seen in this entire game. And that right here, if you have not seen him yet, is going to be the new Red Sanji leader included in the PRB01 set. This is the only new card in that set, and honestly, fantastic card to be added. So basically, if you don't know what this guy does, he's a standard red, 5,000 power, 5 life leader. That reads, activate May once per turn. Up to one of your 8 cost or lower characters without an on-play effect gains a rush until the end of this turn. So basically, this guy turns any single card in the color of red under 8 that does not have an on-play into a rush card. Now, you can imagine how powerful that is, and people are going all sorts of different ways with it. They're running the 4/5 Brook Donna X1 minus 2k power to 2 characters. They're running the new Wapple card that buffs itself and minuses power to a character. Some people I've seen running the 3/5 Blocker Chopper, right? Because you could do the winning attacking effect right off the bat. Or even the Pell, the 5/6 Pell. Attach 1 when attacking, KO a 4,000 power character. Now, I think that's strong. Do I think that's the best way to play this deck? I'm going to say no. I could be completely wrong, but I think those cards are a bit too expensive and a bit too situational for how I think this leader is going to want to play. Basically, I mean, I'll give you an example, right? Pell, we can only play Pell and use Pell's win attacking effect on 6 Dawn, right? Because it's a 5 Dawn card and you need to attach 1 for that effect, right? So that is a little bit slow for only a 7k swing. Sure, we're KOing a 4,000 or less, but realistically at that point in time, not a lot of decks play a whole bunch of scary 4,000 or less cards. Look at Lucci, for instance. I can't really even name one. You could take out a Spandam. RP Law, you can maybe take out a Black Maria. That's solid. But you just played a 5/6 and swung 7, right? On 6 Dawn. Law's doing so much more than that. And I think that's just a way too slow way to play this deck. And it requires way too much Dawn investment. So what I thought of when I saw this leader was to play very large statted vanillas, as you can see here. And thankfully, these are all in one archetype, which is the Film archetype, also searchable by this red Monkey D. Luffy, a card that pretty much has never been played in any good deck, because red Film just isn't good. But this makes it playable, right? Say we're playing these, the Pels and stuff, not only are we doing less with less Dawn, we are swinging less, and they are now easier to attack into, right? So let's compare that 6 Dawn play with Pell, swing 7 and maybe KO a 4K, to this right here, Yasop, 6 Dawn, I'm going to swing 8, and now I have an 8K on board, which is going to be very hard to swing back into. At 7 Dawn for your opponent, it's pretty much impossible. They need to remove it, and if you're RP Law, that's going to be very difficult. If you are Lucci, that's going to be a bit easier, but we already attacked with it, right? It's not a big deal. So same thing with the Shanks, right? If I swing 10, removing this is not an easy task. And also I just swung 10 at you. This already got value. It already attacked for a large number. So if you want to remove it, right, and you have it, go ahead, because now I know you're probably not developing a blocker, which, after I just swung multiple times and a 10k at you is probably not a great idea. So that is the thought process behind this list. I'm not too low to the ground because those are just a little bit easier to remove. The game plan here is to drop big things on curve, have them be really hard to remove after the fact because of their large stat line and large cost, and rinse and repeat. But let's go ahead and run through this deck list real quick. So we've got 4 of Nami Searcher, as I think the Straw Hat package is the best way to play this deck. I saw some running a Whitebeard package. I don't really like that. I think it's doing too many things. It just doesn't really make sense for what the deck wants to do. So the Straw Hats we are running are going to be this 2k Sanji, which was definitely made with when this deck was... this card was in mind when this deck was being made. There's no doubt about it. This is your cheapest large swing in the game. So if you're going for game and you need to play out a rush attacker to take another life, this is your best card to do it, right? Math-wise, this is a 247. That is by far the best stat line with the most Dawn still active that we can do. So very insane card, also a 2K, but I do love playing this on turn 1 on 2. Next up here, we've got this card from OP01, Monkey D. Luffy, only really being played in Dragon, but in this deck, this is a 2-5 Rusher, right? Compare that to 3-5 Zoro, who has no counter. This is a 2-5 with counter. Obviously, not going to be a 5K on your opponent's turn, but going to be a pseudo blocker at that point if they need to attack into it. Another awesome Straw Hat card is going to be this 8-9 Banish Luffy from OP04. This is just a very slow card that doesn't work in every other deck, but in this deck, this is an 8-9 Banish Rusher. That is absolutely busted, and against decks like Enel, this is the card you need to see, but against every other deck, this card is just insane. If they don't have a blocker, they're usually just taking life for free. This card is cracked. Next up here, this Film Luffy Searcher, we already went over. However, this is searchable off the Nami. Say you needed to search a film card, you can do like a search from Nami to Luffy to whatever you need, right? So really good there. And just to round off the 2Ks here, we have this Monkey D. Luffy here, which is just basically a 3-5, right? Because once you attach 2, it buffs itself to 7. So it's basically a 3-5 Zoro, if you can think of it that way. That's also a 2K and searchable, so that's why we're running this. And last for our Straw Hat package here, we have 4 of Rono Zoro from STO1. This is a card that has not been seen in a very long time, but it is absolutely insane in this deck. You can basically look at this guy as Kid and Killer, who is always online no matter what, right? Because for 3 Dawn, you're playing this out, and for 1 more Dawn, 4 Dawn, you're attaching 1 and swinging 7, always. Not to mention, that Dawn X1, this character gains 1,000 power, is not specifying a turn, which means on your opponent's turn, this is a Kin and Killer that also is now a 6K on your opponent's turn, always. This is an amazing card, probably close to the best card in the deck. I really, really like this card, and it's definitely the card I want to see early for sure. And with a deck that is repeatedly hitting face, there is absolutely no doubt that you need Dealable Jambe. 100% this is your best way to go for game. If you ever get your opponent down to 0 and they decide to block her up, it just doesn't matter. You always have a target, as your leader is Straw Hat Crew, which means you have an unblockable 14k swing if your opponent ever goes down to 0. So that's the Straw Hat stuff. As for the film stuff, again, searchable with Luffy. Also has the trigger that activates the on play, does not play the card. I don't know why they did that. Honestly, this could have played the card out. It would have been fine, but you can only activate them on play on trigger. A little bit strange, but basically, we already went over the big vanillas and explained why I run those. So these are just for their respective curves, right? If I'm on 7 Dawn, I'm playing this. If I'm on 8 Dawn, I'm playing this. 6 Dawn, I'm playing Yasop. Sometimes you can kind of mix it up, right? Like if I'm on 7 Dawn, I can play a Yasop, and if I have a Zoro on board, attach 1 more to swing 7. And then we have our searchable film 2K, which is Saga. This is a pretty interesting card because you wouldn't think this would be good in this deck, but it actually is. If you need a rusher in a pinch, this works fantastic, right? Because you can attach 1, it buffs itself by 1,000, and then at the end of the turn, it's going to KO a film character. Or sorry, it's going to trash a film character. If you don't have a target, it's going to have to get rid of itself, but if we're going for game, this is a good option as it is basically a 4/6 vanilla at that point after attaching 1. As for the rest of the film stuff here, we have 4 of Shariah. This card is nuts. It's a 3/5, right? If you're giving this guy rush and he's swinging at leader, it's a 3 whatever power the opponent's leader's at, right? So if we're playing against BY Luffy for 3 Dawn, you can play like a 3/9 rusher. Seems pretty good to me. It's a very good card. Also really good if we need a blocker to not die on the next turn, as this deck does not have any blockers other than Shariah here. So this is basically our main line of defense. We do have a lot of counter with very few non-counter cards, but if we do need to prevent big swings, this is the best guy to do it. And that is pretty much the deck list, minus 1 more card right here, which is our only non-searchable card in the entire deck, and that is Marshall D. Teach from OP03. Now, some of you might not even know what this card does, but it is absolutely insane in this deck if you get the great curve. So Marshall D. Teach is a 4/6 vanilla, which we already love. The 4/6s along with this 4/6 Luffy, that is double searchable, I did not mention that, are great to play on 4 Dawn, but this guy is a little bit different, right? He can act as a vanilla, but his when attacking is You can trash a red character with 4,000 power or more, draw 1 card, then this character gets 1,000 for the battle, meaning he's going to swing 7 while drawing you a card. Right, so you do need a target for that. Do we have any good targets for that in this deck? Yes, we do. We have the 2-cost Sanji, so if we're going second, you can actually play this on 2 Dawn, and then on 4 Dawn, we can go 5 with leader, 7 with this, and then 7 with this while taking this out, because realistically it was going to be attacked into and easily killed anyway, so we'll convert that into a draw 1 card off of our Teach effect. Also, another great target for that is either this Luffy Searcher or this 2-3 Luffy Searcher that also work on the 2 Dawn curve as well. This one, obviously, you need to attach 1, but, you know, that works on going first on 5 Dawn, whatever you want. So this is a fantastic card, usually not amazing in the later stages of the game, but one of our best cards to play on curve early. So with that being said, guys, that is going to be the deck list. Definitely, I think, a list that nobody has really looked into before. The idea of just playing these big vanillas, I haven't seen many people do. So hopefully this is the right way to run this leader. At least it's working for me because I'm pretty much undefeated with this deck list. It is definitely insane. A lot of people are saying it's going to get banned. I don't think it's that good, but it is definitely really good and can compete with the best decks for sure. But anyways, with that being said, I'm excited. Let's go ahead and get into some gameplay. All right, and looks like we're going to be going into Marco. I'm actually going to choose second. That may be a little weird because we kind of do give him his curve. However, if we do get the going second curve, which it looks like we do have, which is the Luffy into the Teach here, we are going to be going super turbo. So no doubt here we're playing out this Luffy on 2 Dawn, and then next turn we are going to be going 5, 5, 7, and drawing a card. So very, very strong. There is a chance he's like running the 1-cost event that can KO a 3K, and if he does that, that is completely fine. I think that's honestly a little bit of a waste of event. Leaving 1 up, I think he actually might be going for it, which he does decide to do. So unfortunately, we do not get the perfect curve here, but we are going to go ahead and play out this Zoro here. So let's go ahead and go 5, and then we will be going to swing 7 after. Gonna play the Zoro here, attaching 1. Leader effect on Zoro, that is going to be a 9K swing, so give us a 2K and a 1K, and if you can't, it is going to be really hard to deal with that. So he can use this turn to get rid of Zoro if he wants to. If he does swing 6 into 4, I'm just going to give it to him, and then we're just going 8K next turn, which is going to be a lot more difficult to remove. As even if he does have that Newgate on curve, it just doesn't matter. AK is a little too big to actually get rid of, and that is why I like this card over cards like Pell. Because a lot easier to deal with, right? Now you're swinging into my board. I really don't care, right? We're just going 5 and we're going 8. That is the turn, and next turn we will be playing this Luffy and going 9. This is a very easy deck. I'm not going to lie. The turns are very obvious. There's really not a whole lot to think about. As you're really just playing on curve, and then later stages of the game, you are just going to try to get the win, right? So he can keep minusing these guys and attacking into them if he wants to. Even if he minuses this, he still needs to swing 8, which means that's 3 on leader, or I'm going to just counter out with a 2K. Obviously, I don't have a 2K in hand, but he doesn't know that. And there it is. Yeah, he's going to go all into that. Again, very hard to remove, which means you now have to deal with that. And if you don't have a good way to deal with it, that is going to be the way you're going to have to do it. So here is the Luffy. We could have played the Shanks, but I think getting the banished Luffy down earlier is a lot better, and checking his hand for 2Ks. Because if he doesn't have them, this is our life to take. You are either giving us 3 out of hand, or you're giving us, free 2K from life. And getting a 2K is really big there, because clearly he did not have a lot of them. And we are really not losing that many cards out of hand. We aren't having to counter out of anything. We're only playing 1 card a turn, and we still have 4 life. So he's going to play Rayleigh here. And if he attacks into this, I'm probably not going to counter out. Obviously, no 2Ks in hand here means I don't really think there's a reason to attack. And then this turn, again, very easy. We're just going 7 and 10, right? That's it, and you are not removing the Shanks. There's like almost no way. There is that event. We will go ahead and play down the Shanks, grant him Rush, and that is a 10K, and you are pretty much dead next turn. Even if he drops a blocker, right, which means he's spending a lot less Dawn on removing the Shanks, I have 3 Namis in hand, which means the odds I find Dialbe Jambe are really high. Which means, right, even if this is 3 Dom for Doflamingo, I think that's the blocker that Marco usually runs. I ran it in my Marco vid at the very least, and this looks like a pretty similar list. At this point, right, this is an 8K to 8K. You need to attach a few Dawn to actually make me scared to lose this guy. And that is the power of these large stat lines. And I think, again, the best way to run this deck, we are at basically the same amount of cards here. He's going to go 8. He does want to drop a blocker here, so I'm definitely going to just counter out of this one. We'll give him 1 Luffy, 1 Nami. Because if this is the blocker, which it's actually not, he's going to leave 1 up for Rad Beam. And at that point, I'm just going to counter out here, because I know he's not dropping a blocker. So we're going to go 10, and then we're just going to go rest on leader. And there's really no cards in the game that are saving you here, as 5 cards in hand can only get you to 15 exactly, which means that is going to be the game. That being said, though, a little bit of a domination there. I would love to do a rematch, but I'm actually getting to the next one. All right, and getting into our next game here. Looks like we're going to be going against an Edward Newgate, which is actually pretty interesting. He put us on first, so I think we're keeping this hand. We're looking for a Zoro with this search right now, but looks like we really don't find anything that we'd like to see here. So I think we're just going to grab the 2K, as we don't have any in hand at the moment. On Tudon. Yeah, it's really only Ezo for him. Take a life. We really do kind of want the Zoro. I mean, I guess even if we drew the Zoro, we couldn't actually swing on curve, so not too great, but we do want at least a 4-6 body to swing 6-6 on our 5 Dawn turn, so let's see if we can draw into that. Looks like we actually don't, so I think we're going to go 6, and we're going to play a 2-cost Leafy down here, and we're going to look for that 4-6 that I was just talking about. I'm not really sure what the right play, swinging 6. I think you always want to counter out of the lower swings on Newgate, as you want to not have to counter out of the bigger swings later in the game. So we're going to drop Luffy here. We do get the Zoro. These are actually not film at all, yeah. So we're not going to draw any of those, unfortunately. There's a lot of film cards in this deck, so the odds that you actually whiff in the top 3 are really low. I think probably like a 10 to 15% chance. I'm probably wrong on that math, but it's definitely very low. So unfortunately, going to have to be working with 1 less card this game, and possibly none on our next curve here, which is not going to be very nice for us, but we will make do even if we just have to swing 10. So let's go ahead and see what our opponent is going to go for this turn. For Dawn, you could play a Marco, but that does leave it open to be KO'd by a lot of stuff, so I probably wouldn't do that. He's actually going to drop an Atmos. What does this card do again? If your leader is Edward Newgate, oh, not bad. That's actually a pretty good card. So going to take that one, looking for a card to play. We do get the 2-3 Luffy here, which is probably our best play. We can also just play Shariah. It'll be a 6K on his turn as well, so I think I'm going to go for that. We'll attach 1 here. We'll swing 6. This is why Shariah is good, right? Any leader that's above 5K just turns this into a 3-6 rusher, so pretty solid for us at least. He's definitely, yeah, going to counter out of that one if he can. Interesting card. I don't think a lot of them run that, so that's an interesting addition here. So we're going to swing 7. This is requiring a 2K. I imagine he'll just take... You don't want to go too low with Whitebeard, or else whenever you get to 0, it's kind of just game over. And the great thing about Shariah is this stays 6K, right? This is until the start of my next turn, so basically on his turn, this still has plus 2K, which means it's going to be a lot harder to get rid of, which is why I played that over the 2-drop Luffy. This one actually could have... Well, I think they would have swung the same amount, actually. But again, yeah, that would have been a lot easier to get rid of. He could have even just attached Dawn to Ezo and gone from there. And this Atmos right now is now going to allow him to not have to take life. Now, that is really strong, I'm not going to lie. Like, the ability to actually allow himself to do that, I think is really good. I think people underrated this card, myself included, when I saw it. Just because, you know, you're used to playing against RP Law and Lucci, who are just going to remove this thing before it actually does anything. But against decks like this card is kind of a menace. kind of takes away Newgate's whole downside. Some call it an upside, which, you know, it is. You are drawing extra cards every turn and seeing what you need. But, you know, when you get down to these low life totals and you're going to go down to 0, it's going to put you in situations where you just don't need to leave Dawn up like that. So we're going to get rid of, I think we'll get rid of the Luffy here. I don't think there's a spot to play it at all right now. And then I imagine we have a 7K swing in our future, followed by maybe like a Luffy. So we will see here. I don't really know what list this guy's running. He's running like, looking like a complete Whitebeard Pirates. Like, nobody runs this Rakuyo, sorry. I probably pronounced that wrong. Oh, he's actually going to Fire Fist the Nami and the Luffy. I don't know if I agree with that, especially if it costs you to trash 2 cards from hand to get rid of a 2K and a 3K that were never doing anything. Are you swinging into Shiraya here? I imagine he is, yeah. We'll give him that. Definitely not going to counter that one, especially if I do not have the counter. And at this point, I think I want to get rid of this Atmos. I don't want him healing again. So 7 Dawn, we're just going to play on curve. I'm going to go ahead and go 5 at Atmos, get a counter out of hand. And then we're going to go another 9 at Atmos with the Benjamin Beckman. So let's go ahead and play Benny, give him Rush, and that's going to be 9K. There's pretty much no way he's countering out of this. And we're forcing him to take life next turn as well. Not on 9 Newgate either, so he's going to take a life from leader effect right here, and then we're going to have 3 very large swings incoming because I'm probably playing this Shanks next turn. So I can't imagine he stays at 1 unless he leaves some Dawn up. And he's actually going to draw this card. If you have 3 or less life cards, you cannot add life cards to your hand. Oh, yeah, this is an OPO2 card that nobody ran just because, you know, you're negging a card from hand to do kind of nothing. But I guess this is like the version that we're going for here. I mean, it's interesting. Like, I'm not saying this is completely the wrong way to play this deck, but, you know, the best part about Newgate was kind of just, you know, taking life and getting a bunch of cards in hand. So he'll go 8 here. Yeah, we'll give him that. That is completely fine. And the thing is with this Marco, this is not online until you're at 2 life. So if he's not aware of that, he's going to get punished very severely. So do we play Shanks or do we play Luffy here is the question. And I think I want to play, most likely, I think it will depend on what he does here. If he blocks with Marco, I'm going to play the Luffy because I'm thinking that means he has no counter. So we're going to take another card out of life here. We are going to play the Luffy, give him Rush, and swing 9. So blocking with Marco there makes me think he does not have the counter, as I said. And if he does, it's still 2 cards out of hand. So really, really great card in every matchup. I love this card in this deck. It is just really, really strong. And there it is. We actually trash this card, which he probably would have used this next turn to prevent himself from going down to 0. But if he has the 9 Newgate, I imagine he's playing that anyway. Yeah, so there it is. He did stall himself, but I do have enough big bodies on board that we're actually in a pretty good spot right now. So he is going to go 9 into my 9. I disagree. Also, you should be swinging into this one, the one with Banish. But, you know, by all means, swinging into that, I was countering out of it anyway. And now with no Dawn up, you are in a really rough spot here. So we're going to attach 1 to Luffy and go 10K to his 8K. If he decides to not block, I am going to just go unblockable on Sanji, which is going to be a 13K swing and most likely unblockable. But he is going to block, which I think is the right play here. And from here, is he going to resurrect Marco is the question. Because if you do neg a card from hand, which he actually doesn't, I think that is the right play. From here, though, do I want to... I think I just want to go 10-10. I think that's my play this turn. It does leave only, like, minuscule counter in hand, but his board is not scary enough, I think, for me to actually care about that. So we will actually go 10 to 8. If he does decide to take, which he does, I can just go for Zoro, go for game, because I don't think he's removing 2 bodies regardless. Or we can go for Sanji. I think Sanji wins here. So how much does Sanji swing for? If we go 8 on lead, 8 on lead is 13 over 8. He's going to need a lot of counter there. We play Sanji. He's going to buff himself to 7, and then we can actually attach 6 more, and that's also 13. So I'm just going to swing 13 with lead here, I think, which just requires him to have triple 2K. Basically give me everything out of his hand. If he does have it, it's completely fine. But yeah, it looks like he had pretty much no counter at all. So that's going to be the game. And let's get into our final match. And getting into our last game here, we're going to be going against a yellow Enel, which I don't think I played this matchup before, but if I had to guess, this is probably not a good look for me. You know, Onamis and stuff are a bit scary in the early game, but we do have a decent curve. So we have the Beckman on 7 and the Nami on 1, so I think I'm going to keep this hand. We will play the Nami, and we do see the Zoro, and I think that's what we're going to grab here. Yeah, we're going to grab the Zoro. This card is just way too good in this deck. There's no doubt about it. Now, the question is, do I want to just try to go rush him down strategy, or do I want to play it a little slow? And I think I want to play it a bit slow and just kind of develop bodies. So we are going to go 5 here. And then playing the Zoro this turn actually does not punish me. Because he cannot play Gadatsu next turn. Gadatsu is really the only early removal, and he's going to play out the Satori, which is very interesting. Because you're negging, he actually negged another 2K out of hand. I think that's very dangerous against this deck, and I'm not going to give him a target to actually swing into. Because the value of the Zoro is being a 6K, so I want him to actually have to attach a little bit of Dawn if you do want to remove this guy. So this might be 2 7s this turn, which in that case we will counter out of the second one. Completely fine with me. Question is, which card are we giving him from hand? I'm probably going to give him this Luffy and the Saga. And we do get another Zoro, so very nice for us. So we are going to go 5 into this guy. If he counters out here, I think he's trolling, for lack of a better word. Attaching 1 to Zoro here, bring him to 6 and swing into that as we will play another Zoro. Attach 1 and give him Rush. Pretty simple turn for us. And pretty menacing board. We can get completely punished by a card here. This is why this matchup seemed a bit scary for me. But he does not get a trigger, which is very nice for us. He does have Gadatsu online as well this turn, which means he can go swing 6 into 1 and KO the other. I'd probably give him that because I'm playing Beckman next turn anyway. Oh, and he's going to go all in on leader. That is an interesting decision. And I think with that being said, we might just play Marshall D Teach this turn and go crazy. So let's do that. We're going to swing 7. He's probably going to take to try to get a trigger here. Oh, no, he's actually not going to take. So we're going to go another 7 with Zoro. We do not want to get punished by a Nami from the top of life there. And at this point, you know, it might be a bit troll to go for the Teach, but I like to live on the edge, so we will go 6. He does decide to take, which means you are going to need to counter out of this 7. I'm going to give you Rush. Oh, I misclicked. Well, it happens. It happens to the best of us. It really does. I didn't know. I guess it makes sense that the game would let you do that, but that's unfortunate, actually. And that's definitely no Nami in life. Wow. That was a very crucial misclick for me. Hopefully that does not cost us the game. So he is going to be going 6 at leader. We unfortunately do not have a 2K, so we are going to take that. And look at the top 3 here. We are going to grab this 2K for future turns. 5 Dawn, I'm not sure what that's going to be. An ace, yeah. He's going into Zoro, which means I'm definitely going to give him that 2K I just found. And at this point, this is just going to be Rush or Banish Luffy. I do not want to deal with an EBS because he just put that in life. That means this right here is either going to require 3 cards out of hand or you are forfeiting whatever the hell you just put there. So let's see what the answer is. And if he does counter out here, I'm probably just swinging into this ace. I don't think there's any doubt there. But he's definitely thinking about it, which, oh, it was a 0 cost event. Okay, I was thinking it was Onami. Oh, he's actually going to forfeit. I mean, I think he could have lived, man. Maybe? he had a 0 cost, so he had 3k and a 2k. He probably could have lived. I don't know why he forfeited there, but that is going to be our games today. Let's go ahead and get into the final deck breakdown. And that is going to be our final deck list here. Did not actually end up making any changes, as we did end up winning every game, and honestly really love how this deck is feeling. I wish we ended up playing into an RP Law or something like a Lucci, just to see how this deck fares. I played against a lot of Luccis, and this deck kind of destroys it. If they don't see their blockers, or if they see their blockers too late, it's just a little bit too much power to actually deal with. Lucci already struggled with Rush a bit, so this one is just, you know, Rush cranked up to the max. But with that being said, guys, this has been a really fun deck list. If you do want to play this list, it will be in the description below. And if you do have any suggestions on this leader, as I know he's brand new and I'm open to a whole lot of suggestions because there's a lot of ways you can take this leader in, please do leave them in the comments. I am looking forward to reading them. But with that being said, you guys have a great day. This has been Jim with the Awakened TCG. I'm going to head out of here. Peace.